All right, Knuckle Busters, this is Joe from Code on Maintenance, and today I wanted to discuss how to prepare for your FAA interviews. This is a very frequently asked question when I help people go through the beginning steps of their process. This is day one stuff, and there's a lot of concerns. There's a lot of frustrations dealing with the FAA inspectors you're curious what they're going to ask, how to do the interview, and I'm going to walk you, what's going to happen next if they don't give you the ratings, which has been in the event in recent times that, we have people who don't, get their ratings. So it's very frustrating for me and the candidate who's once again, what do you want to get? You're right. Most of you want to get both your ratings, the Airframe and Powerplant. You want to be confident in your interview, so that way, even though most of you are very knowledgeable on your aircraft, but there's some stuff that the FAA wants you to know. What to provide for the interview. What to prepare yourself for this interview with documents, knowledge. So what I ended up doing was talking to a FSDO that was able to help me kind of see what would be worst and best case scenarios. Every FSDO is different. Every single one is different. It can be easy as having a quick little interview, going through the things that they feel confident in to sign you off, because it's on them. And it can be as stringent as a bunch of documents, interviews, going through very, detailed into some of the tasks they want you to do. And some of them, unfortunately, don't like the military guys, unfortunately. Hopefully with videos like this, discussions begin about changing these ways now that we have the internet and stuff like that. And that's what I'm hoping to do. That I'm not saying that they should just hand them to you, but to be fair, and one of those things that I get frustrated with is that somebody will have knowledge and can even exceed the tasks they have, and even exceed and expand on some of the concepts, theories, operations on a certain particular component, and not get their ratings, and that's very frustrating. And with decades of knowledge, they don't give them the rating. Or the other case where they'll give them, like for example, you might be an electronics guy, but you also have experience in engine stuff. You have experience in multiple systems in the aircraft, not just on the airframe, but engines as well. And unfortunately, there's a minimum requirement that they'll look at you and say, hey, we're only authorized to give you airframe. Yeah, I get it that you might have experience in this, and they don't give it to them. I think that should be a minimum requirement. So if they're a power plant guy, that they should get the power plant guy, the rating. But if he has, experience in airframe, and he can back it up with documents and training and sign-offs and things like that, then he should be rewarded the other rating. So it's a lot of battles with FAA. So it really depends on the inspector, and that's what I talked about my friend who is a flight standard district office employee. And it's really the roll of the dice. You can have a difficult guy, or you have a guy who can be fair. And some of those guys who are fair, they like to dig at you a little bit. So what I want to do is at least prepare you for the worst case scenario and give you your chances, give yourself the best chances, right? So some people don't ask, some inspectors don't ask for all your training documents. But again, every inspector can be different. And even that, maybe same inspector might treat you differently from the other guy, that went before you, and might after. It just depends on his comfortable level. But he does have rules to follow. He has to be comfortable to sign you off. So what I want to do in this video is discuss your best increasing your chances to get your both your ratings. So I had a friend, Rob, and he worked at a certain. Says I'm not going to call the office out. I'll let him take care of that, and I'm trying to grow the awareness on this. So he went to a certain FSDO, very knowledgeable, even in reciprocating engines where it's not very common. An Air Force crew chief has knowledge. Not even some of our power plant guys and the propulsion guys don't have a lot of experience in reciprocating engines, but this individual did. And he went to detail with certain components because he studied up. He wanted to be knowledgeable. He wanted to be prepared, and he went prepared. And unfortunately, the FSDO didn't give him the power plant rating, which ended up him not coming to a school or even start studying for it because he didn't feel like it was worth it, and he was coming towards the end of his career, 20 years in the Air Force. And I personally have worked with him. He's very knowledgeable. I learned a lot from him, and it was unfortunate that he couldn't get both his ratings, and it's just a bummer. So that's what motivated me to do this, video. So I know it says airframe and power plant ratings, but there's the first one, the important one, that's called a general, that doesn't get highlighted enough. So there's actually 3, I guess, ratings you can say, because in order to get your general, you gotta have the general to get anything else, to get 1 or 2 of the ratings, and you have to pass it. You have to get this from the inspector, and you also have to do this when you test. So there's a general section that talks about base electricity, corrosion, maintenance pubs, maintenance practices like privileges and things like that. Math, physics, on and on and on. I'll go with it in a little bit, but you need to get these 3 sections down correct. And what I got from my friend at the FSDO is that if they can get 50% of these correct, and this is kind of a standard thing across the all FAA FSDOs, and it's up to them to use it or not. But if what we used to do down here in Davis Mountain is when we had inspectors come down, this was one of their little parts of the package, along with their records, along the checklist signed off by E6 or an A&P. So keep that in mind and provide this documentation for your FSDO if you want to increase your chances. So I guess the first thing I want to go into is how to prepare, right? Number 1, get your training documents. If you're in the Army, if you're in the Air Force, all that training you do that says that you signed, you completed a task, right? You've been trained on this and you completed a task. And then your trainer or supervisor signs off on that you've done this task. So you got to bring all those training documents. And if you're a civilian, make sure that you have a logbook with all the stuff, because you want to overload them with so much information. There's like undeniable that you have practical experience in this. So you got to provide that. Remember, going back, you have to have 30 months of practical experience to get both your ratings, your airframe and power plant. I forgot to say that thing. Okay? When you go in there, you want to be confident. You're not saying, well, maybe, I've done a little bit of this, or no. You say, I've done oil changes. I've done oil servicing. I've done engine inspections. I've done inlet and exhaust inspections. I've removed engines. So you want to say it with confidence, because the attitude does matter. Oh, and we can talk more about that. Is your attitude. Don't try to be a dickhole with the inspectors. Don't be a jerk. Go in there in a good mood, good attitude. Be respectful, just like you would with anybody else. Be respectful. And a lot of these guys do try to help you. It's just some of them are bad apples, or just not confident in signing you off, whatever the case may be, right? So you don't want to give them any even though that a lot of you are experienced, you want to go in there confident either way. So we'll go into how to prepare, right? So we already talked about the training. Get that done, okay? Like I said, everybody's different. Message them, and if you've already talked to your inspector, make sure you get all the documents that they are asked of you. Some of them might want some confirmation from your commander or your supervisor, okay? But I'm going to show you a checklist that we used to provide to people here at Davis Mountain, where it gives them an idea what to brush up on if they kind of forgot it in tech school, areas that they haven't not know. But again, this is only to get 50%, and it doesn't mean that you have to have actual deep knowledge of it. Some of it is just aware of how it works. For example, maybe a multimeter. When I first did mine interview, I didn't know, they don't teach crew chiefs with multimeters, I'm sorry, not a real crew chief, I guess. So they don't, I knew what it does, continuity checks and stuff like that, but I really didn't know my way around it. And what am I checking and stuff? I'm an idiot, and I'm still an idiot with basic electricity. So I'll go over some A&P checklists, right? Again, and there's different teaching levels, right? Level 1 requires knowledge of general principles, but no practical application. Means you really haven't really done a continuity check on a switch or something like that with a motor. Use that, example, right? No development of manipulative skill. I honestly don't know what that means, but I'm a retard. So instructions by lecture, demonstration, or discussion. Yeah, maybe a E&E guy told you about this multimeter, and he kind of gave you, well, you do this, and I was like, okay, makes sense. And that's how I learned about it. It was we do this here, but I need practice. I need hands-on stuff to learn. I can't learn just by looking. Level 2, again, knowledge of general principles and limited practical application. Maybe once or twice I put the probes on a switch. Developed sufficient manipulative skill to perform basic operations. Maybe a little more experience with it, right? You've done little switches, you check some ohms, some volts, check some continuity, stuff like that. Level 3 requires, let's finish up with level 2. And the third part of it is instruction by lecture, demonstration, discussion, and limited practical experience. So you probably dabbled a little bit with it. That's level 2. Level 3 requires knowledge of general principle and performance of a high degree of practical application. So you know the general principles, and you have a high degree, you're an E&E guy, I know what everything does on this button. Development of sufficient manipulative skills to stimulate return to service. So let's say you know how to do continuity check. You're really a whiz at it. And I was like, yep, this is good. The switch is it's just a bad switch. Or say, no, this is a good switch. It's probably another component. So, return something to stimulate return to service. I think that might be wrong. Instruction by lecture, demonstration, discussion, and a high degree of practical experience. So you've been taught, you've been trained, basically the training part had discussion, and you have a high degree of practical application. So you know how to use it, basically. And here you go. Here's some components in basic electricity. Here's the levels. So for example, calculate and measure capacitance and inductance. For most crew chiefs, for a degree of most positions in aircraft maintenance, you've at least, I know I did about when I was in tech school, of learning how to do this stuff. And at some point I did measure voltage, current, resistance, and continuity. Again, in general, you only need to do no 50% of this. And here you can put a check. You can have your E6 guy check you off like your supervisor, or an A&P, even better, saying that you and the A&P have gone through it, learned, and he can sign you off. So all you A&Ps out there, help these guys get this, teach them, train them up, and help them out, please. Let's see, level 3, measure voltage, current, and resistance and continuity. How to use that multimeter, right? It sounds like. Determine the relationship of voltage, current, and resistance in electrical circuits. I got that. Read and interpret, circuit diagrams, schematics. Okay. Inspect and service batteries. Okay, most of you have done that. Inspect it, serviced it, and installed it and put it back into the aircraft. Drawings, we deal with it all the time, like IPBs and things like that, blueprints and how look at that stuff. A lot of crew chiefs will weight an aircraft, perform complete weight and balance. Yep, we've done that too. Fabricate, install. That's something crew chiefs don't do, and not very many people like shops don't do that. Materials, this is like everybody should know this, at least for crew chiefs, right? So let's see. But yeah, this is what it looks like. Mathematics, 12 years of. My friend told me, it's like, well, most of you have gone, got a degree from high school. You spent 12 years trying to learn math, and most of us are not good. But most of the times that's a given, right? They just like give it right. Math is such a hard thing in our school. Maintenance, former records. Yep, we already know how to do all that stuff. That's important. Basic physics, level 2. Most of us has gone to tech school or any kind of, reoccurring training every year to talk about this type of stuff. Maintenance publications, this is a big part, right? FAA publications, airworthiness. So, these are important things to look at. Logbooks on Cessnas or, manuals, kind of like the Chiltons. There's manuals out there. And it's good to go through it. And FAA regulations, airworthiness, right there. So you can Google all this and see what it looks like and see the different types and things like that. You can Google it too. But you can also go on the FAA's website and, look this stuff up. Read technical data. That's important. That's what we do every day. Cadet privileges. So that's pretty much for the. Sure, sure there's more. But that's what I got right now regarding the general portion. And again, for airframe, here's a checklist, same stuff. Make sure that you at least get 50% of this knowledge. Hydraulic stuff, cabin air. And if you don't, talk to your E&E people or people who are subject matter experts in this, and then have them go through the stuff with you. That you have inspected, you've done some troubleshooting or service and stuff like that. Instruments, most of us know all the instruments, especially inspecting them. So they need a high degree of communication, nav, autopilot, servos, and approach coupling systems. That's something that you got to talk to your comm guys. Let's see. Pair antennas, that's something that crew chiefs do. All this stuff is level 1. So just be aware of the level 1, some instructions from some avionics guys or something like that. Fuel systems, check and service fuel dump systems. There's the stuff that we get trained almost every year about something. Repair fuel systems components. Again, you don't need to have a lot of knowledge, but, maybe this is something to have a discussion with your fuels guy on, repairs and stuff like that. Only level 3 is inspect, check, service, troubleshoot, and repair aircraft fuel systems. Again, it's a good idea to what do they mean by that, right? Electrical systems. Level 3, install, check, and service electrical system control wire switches, Like most of us already know how to do this stuff. And check the wiring. That's super important when we're inspecting anything, right? Check the wiring on landing gear. Check on the switches. Make sure there's not broken wires, there's no copper showing, there's no wire showing and stuff like that. Checking the switches. Making sure those are in the right location. Security indicators and stuff like that. Let's see. Number 3, troubleshoot, service, repair, alternating, and direct current electrical systems. Yeah, check that. Checking the systems in the cockpit, make sure everything's working. Make sure there's no caution lights. And then doing the inspections of that. Let's see. CSD generators, integrated IDGs, constant speed. There you go. Troubleshoot that stuff. Those are pretty common stuff, but you just need to know the basics of that one. You don't need to have a lot of knowledge in it. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. Here's a 3. Inspect, troubleshoot, service, and landing gear position. A lot of us know how to do this. Some of us even rebuilt these things, so that that works out a lot. Inspect, service, troubleshoot, repair, fire detection, and extinguish systems. Yep, there you go. Now we go into Powerplant. Here's a 3. Install, troubleshoot, remove reciprocating engines. I'm assuming like the little small engines, just pulling them out. Troubleshoot, removing, install. Okay. Turbine engines. Most of us have experience in this. Not so much overhaul, but again, 50%. Inspect, service, repair, turbine engine installations. Most of us we've helped out in installation, stuffing them in and stuff like that. And I know a lot of shops that I worked with have, even though they were avionics or something like that, have helped install engines and stuff, So inspections, that's a big one. Let's see, components, and the list goes on. So again, go with your E6 or A&P to do this, and can definitely prepare you for any interview with the FAA inspector. Sorry guys, I don't know what I'm listening there. Maybe I should put a note here. Reference guides. So 8083 are good books. FAA 8083s are good books. I think it's dash 31, 32, no, 30 for the general, dash 32 for the airframe, and 31. I'm sorry, man, I'm just not on the mode right now. So yeah, 30, 31, and 32. Those are good books to kind of just go over these things and look through and see, and read up on them. I had a cool inspector, and he was like, yeah, just brush up on it. You're gonna need to for any exams and stuff like that. So it was pretty cool, pretty fair. So make sure that, and if you want this form, I can. If you want this checklist, I can send it in. DM me, private message me, comment below if you want. Or it's probably best just to say, email me the checklist, and we can get that out for free. No problems asked. No, I made this just for you all. So I hope that helps. And this process will definitely, along with your training records, along with any proof you could provide, any special training that you received, especially if you're trying to get a rating outside of your MOS or AFSC and things like that, where maybe you're a Powerplant guy. Make sure that you have proof of you've been trained and you've done tasks to sign that off. So make sure you keep that. And we've had several avionics get the Powerplant, so it's not out of reach with that. It's not unattainable. It is obtainable. So, these are called the Part 147 appendices, B, C, and D. And again, get with those subject matter experts or an A&P that can help you through that. And that way they can sign that off and make the inspector feel more at ease, right? So again, this is along with our training records, along with this being signed off, and we've had great success, and as long as they meet that 30-month experience or 30 months of practical experience. And we have a lot of cool inspectors and stuff like that. And one of the tips that I thought it was pretty cool, I didn't know until I spoke to him, was if you feel that an inspector is being unfair, or you just didn't feel you were, done correctly, is to, at least I know for the Scottsdale, and I'm sure you can find it in every FSDO website, is that there is a employee directory, and you can find the supervisor and ask them for a different inspector and give them your reason why, and hopefully they'll give it to me. That was the recommendation I got. I always, there was a Facebook post talking about at FSDO shopping or something like that, and I thought it was pretty interesting. I never heard about that, but I'm not trying to promote somebody just to hand them like candy, but there's been a lot of scenarios where somebody wasn't treated correctly. Somebody wasn't treated, and that's all I want our guys to have, or all of you to have that experience. Is don't provide any fake documents, but also, what I do promote is find somebody who can be fair with you. If you had the experience, get that. And another interesting thing is that they do put it on the FSDO website, I guess, and they keep track of it for people who are shopping around for FSDOs. So, but I still wouldn't let that discourage me. I would still find somebody that can be fair with you, and I don't see nothing wrong with having a different inspector look at your material and or even talk to the supervisor and say, hey, I feel like I should have this because I have plenty of documents. I have a lot of proof that I worked on X to get to back up my experience, so I can obtain this Powerplant or Airframe rating. So it's easier now because they're still doing COVID restrictions, and they can definitely help you out, virtually. And that's been an awesome situation, because before you had to go drive long distances or even, cross the ocean to visit one of these FSDOs. So I'm glad it's expanded their services into the virtual reality, into the virtual side of things. So make sure you can. It is possible to get a fair inspector. So again, this is Joe from Cobra Maintenance. Let me know if you're an FAA inspector, and you want to team up to provide, not free, but it is free, but fair services to our military members. Contact me, and let's work together to provide fair. If they don't deserve it, they don't deserve it. I get that, but also let's work together. Let's collaborate to provide fair interviews. If they deserve it, give it to them. And I know you got to meet your minimum requirements, and you got to have the warm and fuzzies with them. So I get that part. And don't be jerks to the military guys. They have experience. Maybe it's 1 or 2 airframes, but let's all work together. Let's get rid of this, I don't know, this ego or whatever it is. That let's work each other. The industry needs really good mechanics, and a good group of people that they can get good mechanics is the military. So comment below if you disagree with me. I've talked to people who disagree with me. I was like, oh, they didn't know how to use a multimeter. I was like, well, I don't know why you fired them. You could just easily train them, and that would have been cheaper, because now you got to spend a lot more money to. I'm just ranting now. So again, I'm trying to do my best to provide all this information for free, and that way you can be successful in your transition. And if and make more money in the industry, right? So bring out more opportunities and help you get a job. And so that's our mission, is to help transitioning members get into the civilian with many opportunities where they can be happy to go to, and not just like, oh, I can only do this, or just it starts being limited. So help us out. Comment below what's been your experience. Comment below what's your experience with the interviews. Let's hear those horror stories and good stories and recommendations of certain good inspectors. Let's hear it. All right. Thank you for your time, and be safe out there. Bye.